Well, this is going to be a tricky one to talk about. Companion. This is me working my way through some things that I want to try and watch on HBO Max before my subscription expires because I'm not renewing that one anymore. Um, the spoiler-free section of this is going to be pretty short for a couple of reasons. But here's what I'll say. I liked it a lot. I think you will benefit from knowing as little as possible going in. If you know what you think the twist is, you might, but it still is probably worth watching, and I'll explain why. And again, this is as spoiler-free as I can manage it. I didn't know really anything about this. I seen some images. It kept coming up as recommended to me, and then somebody, I can't remember who, suggested it to me as something to watch. And within the first 5 minutes, I had a very strong inclination as to what the twist was going to be. Within 12 minutes, I was dead certain I was right, and at 17 minutes, it confirmed it. And then it spent the next hour and 20 minutes really exploring that from as many angles as possible. So if you think you know the twist and are therefore avoiding it, like you do, but also this does a very good job of exploring. It's weird even to call it the twist because it gets confirmed pretty early in the movie. Its premise, honestly. So that I need to at least give a sense of tone because I can't just blanketly recommend it to everybody. It is a bit of psychological thriller. It's a bit of relationship falls apart in a really horrific way. It's a bit of those kinds of things, and that's as much as I feel like anybody should know going in. So if those are not your jam as genres and tones, go ahead and walk away. Like, I've seen it classified as a horror movie. I don't think I agree that it is, but I also kind of see how people get there. I've also seen it classified as a dark comedy, which at parts, for sure. And yeah, that's actually probably a little more than I should have said. So if you haven't seen it and have been meaning to, I recommend it. It was very good. And now I'm going to talk spoilers for the rest of the review because, as I said, the initial twist is revealed pretty early into the movie. And so for me to actually talk about the substance of any of this, I need to dig into that. Okay? Okay. Okay, so now that everyone's been notified, yeah, it's about a robot companion. Well, initially about one, then another gets involved, and like that one, when that happened, I didn't call Patrick. Like Iris, I called pretty early, and I think they pace that kind of perfect. Because if you come in with no inclination of what's going on, then there are these little tiny things that in hindsight are kind of early indicators, but if you have no idea going in where this is going, you are likely to miss. So things like her thanking the autonomously driving car that brought her and Josh to the place we're going, because like she doesn't know she's a machine, but she still has this natural inclination to be nice to another machine. And then just like little tiny aspects of the way other characters respond to her or talk to her. And it's, there's some really good initial layering of things in there. And, when you realize that Josh's little nickname for her is Beep Boop, which, yeah, it sounds like a mildly derogatory thing to call a robot. And then you get the full reveal the first time he tells her, Iris, go to sleep. And like, here's the thing. I called it the first time he said that. And we don't see her eyes roll. And this is like, they're in bed and she's talking to him and he rolls over and just goes, Iris, go to sleep. And that was the moment I realized, like, oh, that was an instruction. Oh, that just, mm, mwah. I love that. And then about 5 minutes later, it gets fully confirmed after she's killed Sergei and he shuts her down and the audience sees to see the eyes roll back and she just turns off. So to reveal what could have been a later stage twist, 17 minutes in, and then spend about 80 minutes really just digging into the possibilities. I feel like the movie that this kind of is going to bear some comparison to is probably Ex Machina. Here's the thing. It is not nearly as cerebral as Ex Machina is. And I like Ex Machina, to be clear. It's not nearly as cerebral. It's not trying to be as philosophical, as sort of heady. It's no less intelligent for that, though. What I really like about this is that while it is not really dealing with these greater philosophical concepts, and while it is kind of dealing with the way a crappy guy treats, yes, women and things that he considers that he owns, and yes, he is considering Iris to be property. She is literally, in a technical sense, but well, actually she's not. She's a rental. Boy, that's another thing. There's so many amazing little touches across this that I really, really love. I think one that really got me, and it's this tiny thing. The first time Iris has control over her settings and she starts messing with them and she is playing with the voice, like pitch up, pitch down. When she sets it back and then leaves it and moves on to other settings, she doesn't set it back to exactly where it was. She actually sets it for a slightly lower tone. I don't know if that was on purpose in the movie. Given how deliberate everything feels, I think it was. It's just this tiny moment of, oh, I like it better, slightly adjusted. And I love that it was slightly adjusted down. Is that noticeable in her vocal performance? No, not particularly. But I caught that detail. Little things like that. There's so much intelligence in the approach to this. Again, not for the purposes of diving into the big philosophical questions of what makes humanity. It is taken as a given from an audience perspective that Iris is a person. That is the only way she is ever really presented to us. And the entire framing of the movie is shaped for you to empathize with and be on her side from the get-go, even after you find out that she is a robot. So the whole thing just sort of takes it. These are people. Now, I have said in some other reviews recently that I have a tendency to get a bit uncomfortable with things that are making the AIs are actually people, robots are real arguments that have been made in the last couple of years as we're dealing with the whole AI nonsense, in our day-to-day lives. I don't think it's a problem here for a couple of reasons. Again, it's not really even trying to be about that philosophical question. And also, there's one key detail to Iris that, as far as I'm concerned, makes her 100% different from any of the AI models, especially the generative stuff that is currently out there, which is that she can't lie. Lying is arguably the thing that generative AI does best of anything. So that alone, to me, removes any possibility that the people behind this were thinking, yes, we believe that AI is the AI we have in real life is actually intelligence. No, this is them exploring a fictional premise. I never got the sense that it was doing anything other than that. So while I've addressed that as a notion before and something like that I kind of keep an eye on, I never got an ick factor from it here. I also want to note, the stuff with Patrick, especially when he has that scene with Eli, where Patrick describes what love feels like, and Eli is so sincere in how much he loves Patrick. And I love the idea that Patrick had figured it out, which, kind of makes sense because it's noted, you could have replaced him with a newer model. This model's even discontinued, we find out later. So, Eli had every opportunity in the world to get a new one, and Patrick probably wasn't intended to go this long without being replaced. They're probably dealt with like iPhones. You're expected to upgrade. And so the fact that he didn't, the idea that he's just been around and he figured it out on his own, but the love that he is programmed to feel is still felt so wholly and sincerely. And Eli loves him too. And that is treated as valid and beautiful. And there is a tragedy when Eli dies as a result of that. I'm not mad at Iris for it. Eli was gonna kill her. Oh, here's a little singular detail that made me so happy, because Josh has Iris shoot herself in the head, thinking that's going to solve all his problems. I have had the notion for a very long time, and I never bring it up in anything, that it's always very funny to me how often robots get treated anatomically the same as humans, meaning like if you detach the head, somehow it's like the head either controls everything else or is the rational control of everything, or the head on its own will still think because all the thinky things are in the head, because that's how we're built, right? No, it's her auditory and visual centers. All the storage, all the thinking is done in another part of the body, because why would you build a robot to match the internal way that humans are built? You don't have to do that. You can move stuff around. You don't have to have the storage in the head, even though so many things, especially with human-like robots, will treat the head like the brain obviously is there when it doesn't have to be. And this has it where it isn't. And I'm like, somebody finally, yes! And that is kind of the essence of what I mean when I say it really smartly explores its premise, not deeply philosophically, but logistically. This is a script that is so thoroughly thought through, all the stuff that it's doing. It's just, I enjoy, heady, more philosophical stuff like Ex Machina. But there's a special beauty to something that doesn't have maybe the same lofty ambitions, but is just about making what it's doing as sharp and as tight and as covering every base and dealing with every aspect as it can. And this is such a glorious example of that. It's just so thoroughly thought. Like Iris, when she gets pulled over by that cop and she switches her speech to German, because it's not just a matter of she can't lie to Josh, she can't lie to anybody. So the cop's asking her questions, she has to tell the truth, but she's answering in German so he doesn't understand her, but she's still giving honest answers. The amount of thought that went into this. And the performances are stellar. Like across the board, everybody's great in this. Iris is amazing. Josh is a fantastic embodiment of that nice guy. The guy who isn't necessarily overtly a monster, but who really thinks the universe owes him and has not paid what he is owed by virtue of existing and not being a monster. He kind of is a monster, but I'm sure in his head, he's definitely not. He's like, well, there's all these horrible things. I don't do any of that. And by that metric alone, he thinks he's entitled to a better life than he has. And that entitlement is the core of his issues and why he's awful. And it's really well captured. It's really well performed. Again, just the whole thing's so smartly written. And Josh is not an idiot, but he does make the kind of oversights that I think are very understandable. Like realizing at the last minute that Iris, all of her storage includes recordings of everything she's ever seen or heard. And that's part of the user agreement that we watched him kind of scroll through when he first got her. And, just these small details like that. And I like that Iris, again, so much thought went into this. I like that Iris, just as a practical matter, even jailbreaking herself and setting herself at 100% intelligence, that still has a cap. Because it actually gets mentioned federal regulations. There is a cap on how strong they can be and a cap on how smart they can be. You can make them smart, but it is still just a really smart person smart. So even Iris at Max Intelligence still doesn't account or think of everything and makes some mistakes. And it doesn't feel like a plot hole because she's not supposed to be omnipotently smart. It's covered that that's not the case, nor is she omnipotently strong. That gets covered. Like, again, it's so thoroughly thought through. It's just such a smart script. And it's a smart script in just a very not show-offy way. So I feel like a lot of people, when they say something has a smart script, that tends to come down to, big words or witty banter. And look, I love me some witty banter. But to me, what makes this a smart script is how fully it's been thought through. You know what else is a smart script? Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. That's a smart script. That's a very thought through, really well combed over, all of its possible issues kind of buttoned up. That's a smart script. And this is a smart script in a similar way. And I really, really liked this. And also, I checked the budget after it was done. 10 million makes sense. And they got a lot of mileage. It is practically all at one location. It's a pretty small cast. The special effects are sporadic and limited. Yeah, this was a smart script, smartly shot, smartly budgeted. This is the kind of thing that if studios could get their heads out of their asses and stop trying to make everything a damn tentpole, this is what should be making up the foundational work of their portfolios. Because this was a $10 million movie that made almost $40 million. This was profitable. Hugely profitable? No, but it made money because it was smartly written, smartly scripted, smartly budgeted, smartly shot. Oh, this was so good. The more I think about it, the more I like it. This was great. Companion. Have you seen it? I hope so if you're this far in the review because, all the spoilers I was talking, but man, this was good. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. They all help. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons. Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Zubin Lafula, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Oliver B, Sean Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Ulrich, Twilord, Mystic Shadow, Tracy Scrabbit, Pal Barabajoggle, Sir Didymus is my favorite, and shoutouts to some random folks from the lower tiers. Thanks to Callum Ray, Three Muppets in a Trench Coat, and Alex Fireheart. If you want to hear me thank you by name, you can check out the reward tiers on the Patreon. You guys were pretty good today. Thank you.